Bear with hip shift. So for this one, you just need a yoga block. Now keep in mind, if you're really locked up in the back, that the height of this yoga block is going to make a big difference. So if you know that you're one of those people that you found out that you're like, oh man, my posterior pelvic floor or my glutes are just locked down, then you may not even need a yoga block. You might just need a book or something like that. That's just an FYI. All right, so what we want to think about with this is very similar to the lateral banded hinge. We are letting that pelvis move over a fixed femur without rotating at the lumbar spine or without hiking our hip up. Now remember, rotating at the lumbar spine means just kind of doing this number right here and twisting, okay? So our upper body is like literally doing nothing. When we hip hike, that means that we're doing this. And the hip is coming up because essentially we lack the motion and ability to let go right here. So when we do this, our pelvis can kind of like get around the movement and cheat the crux, if you will. Okay, so to do this exercise, you're going to put your knee on the yoga block. You're going to put your toe underneath you like so. You can pull on your toe to get a little bit of hamstring if you want. You don't have to. It can just be kind of like a nice added reference. So remember that the hamstring gives us a little bit of anchor to our pelvis so that we're not letting it just really kind of dump forward in this way. If you know that you're one of those people that tends to tuck under a little bit more, don't worry about the hamstring. Just make sure that you've got that tiny twerk, okay? This is one of those instances where we do want that tiny twerk. We don't want to be super flat and we definitely don't want to be tucked under, okay? So tiny twerk here. Now, you want to get all of your weight on the side that has the yoga block, okay? It should feel like your other knee is just barely hovering over the ground. So there's really no pressure in that knee, okay? So all of my weight is on the side with the yoga block. And this is going to be the side that I am shifting in and out of. Now I have pretty equal pressure on both of my hands. What I'm going to do here is push the ground away from me, make sure that I'm in a tiny twerk, and then I am going to put pressure down through my knee that is on the yoga block to lift up my other knee off the ground. I'm not pushing with my other foot to get that knee off the ground, okay? This side is essentially doing nothing, the side that is not on the yoga block. The side that is on the yoga block, I want you to push down through that knee and keep this hip completely still. Don't hike it up, okay? And also don't just move at the lumbar spine because that's not what we're doing, okay? What you're going to do here, again, push, knee comes up, and it's usually not the coming up part where we tend to want to compensate. It's usually the coming down part, okay? Because this is where we kind of have to let everything on the back side of the pelvis lengthen. You're going to come down, and then you're going to come back up. What I want you to do is try and exhale on the way up and inhale on the way down. Because on the way down is when we want more of that expansion in the back of the pelvis to be happening. Now, another thing to keep in mind here is that as you hinge back more, so if you have your pelvis behind your knees, this is going to get a little more intense than if you have your pelvis right over your knees. So you can kind of check in with yourself and see, okay, if it's feeling really hard, you may be back a little too far and you can come forward a little more and it may really let you get into the back of that hip. If you're in this 90-degree position right here and you're like, I kind of feel it, but like not that much, then see if you can hinge back a little bit more and do it from there, okay? So you would be here and then coming down and up and down. So really this should feel kind of like a stretching feeling right in here, but you may also start to feel a burn, like that it's kind of working, and that's okay too. Either way is totally fine. You just want to make sure, again, that you're not just moving at the lumbar spine and you're not just hiking the hip up to get that shifting motion to happen at your pelvis. All right, happy hip shifting.